Bob and Tori. Tori sometimes gets here a little late too, because I think he works in Salem sometimes. Is Nancy, anybody know about Nancy? Is she coming? Anybody heard?
I didn't get a heads up either way.
Okay, well, we'll assume they'll join us as they get here. I'll follow the script here. Public comments. I don't think we have anybody. We have staff. No public. It'd be nice to get public in here occasionally. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the October 4th meeting minutes, and they've been provided to you there in attachment. Anybody wish to withdraw anything from these minutes for a change or addition? No. Hearing none, I accept the motion to approve. Moved by Marlene.
I'll
seconded by Sam. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries. I want to thank Marlene for subbing for me last time. I was at the League of Oregon Cities Oregon Mayor's Conference over in Bend, and
Sure you were.
I was. Well, they thought I was anyway. So I'm glad you carried on without me. It's excellent. On to the budget and grants report. I think that the staff will probably give us some information there.
You just approved your consent agenda. That was part of your consent. If you want to pull it off, that's fine, but I assume you want to follow the procedure.
Oh, sorry.
Consent agenda.
Yeah, it's on there, but any comments on it now that we've approved it? None? Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
All right, never mind. It's been a long day.
I know you're sticking with the procedure, so yeah.
I am. The staff reports now, updates, and that's starts with the bank property down there.
All right, so good evening, members of the URDAC. I'm going to speak to agenda item number 4. And just to remind you, essentially, this is just rehashed and updated from our last meeting when we didn't have a quorum, and so we did not have an official meeting. So just updated from the previous month. So talking first about the 791 Main Street Bank property, very little change is occurring. We're still assuming we're on track from the last communication we had from the DEQ and the property owner that we should expect the conditional no further action letter this month. Haven't received it yet, obviously, but we still got some time left in the month. So assuming we get it, well, whenever we get it, we per the agreement with the property owner, we have up to 30 days after that letter is received by the property owner to close on the property. So best case scenario right now is we would likely close sometime in January. What I'm working on right now on this project is putting together some paperwork to get to the state to apply for some brownfield cleanup funding for the site. So that's what I'm working on right now. Again, there's an attachment B, same attachment that I provided back in October. It's kind of a rough budget and kind of schedule of activities. So kind of be a living document that I'll continue to update as we kind of move along through the process. So really no news on that. The Downtown Historic Sign Project, again, this was largely an URDAC led project, and then kind of got handed off to staff when this body kind of finished up your part of it. It's been taking a while, unfortunately. We had to get some, kind of the county involved. We had to get the tribe involved. Everything is done now in terms of determining the locations of the signs, the text on the signs, all that. We're just waiting for the signs to be final construction, and we'll go get those signs and we'll install those signs. I'll keep everybody updated as I know, but that's where we're at right now. The New Urban Renewal District, no real updates. The only thing that's really happened since we last met was the agency did officially appoint the EDC as the advisory body for the new urban renewal agency. So right now, the sort of the tentative acronym is the SD URDAC, until we come up with something better. Don't anticipate there'll be much activity for that body with that hat on for some time until we actually have some revenue. Working with the county assessor right now to try to determine how much we actually could expect to budget for revenue for the next fiscal year. Don't have a number yet for that. Other updates, there's the property at 124 Southwest Walnut, used to be the charter school, listed for sale at $395,000. As far as I know, the Gather Food Truck Pod project is still planning to move forward, but no recent progress, kind of gone silent on us. Staff and Don Shealy working through some details to have the sidewalk repaired and street trees removed and replaced at 172 Southwest Court. That's the little one-story building complex just east of the Gale Hotel that Don owns, and he's going to be relocating current tenant over to 761 Main, which is where Harvest CrossFit used to be. And then he's going to put a new business in at 172 Southwest Court. Last time I talked to him about this project, he plans to start it early next year. So this will kind of be his next big project after he gets the Carnegie done. Speaking of the Carnegie, last bullet there is the Carnegie building, 936 Main and Corby's, although Corby's is now, I think, done, right? Pretty much. All underway, nearing completion. 936 Main continues to be a bit of a problem. That's the color bar. Working, I talk just about weekly with the contractor on that. It's just been a frustrating set of circumstances, but my last conversation was as early as this morning, and they hope to have that project completed this week. So we'll see. Cross our fingers on that one. What else? So the 100-acre Academy private school project at 947 Main and the Carnegie underwent conditional use permit public hearing process. There was 2 meetings held in November, 2 meetings with the Planning Commission. At the last meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously approved that conditional use permit for that project. Update on that. And that's it for that.
Okay, questions of any of that? How about the Hong Kong? That thing's been for sale forever. Do you have any idea what they want for it? Or
I think I reported out on that some time ago. I don't recall now off the top of my head what the list.
it doesn't seem to be
on there.
successfully being sold.
Well,
I recall it being $1 million.
Yeah, it was. I think it was between 800 and 1 million or somewhere up there, I believe.
Which one's that?
Hong Kong.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a,
Points rated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Wells Fargo in the county?
Haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything on either one of those 2 buildings, so. Yeah, I know that Hong Kong bill, I know the food bank was looking at that at one point, but it was just kind of more than what they needed. So they kind of moved on. But, it's a pretty large building, so it's going to take a unique.
I have a good piece of property that's hooks with it too.
Yeah, there's some
Parking. on top of
parking, yeah,
that. It's,
yeah.
okay, anything else?
Nothing else
No.
on that item. Mayor?
Okay. So we're on to the minor improvement grant proposed changes, which include a couple of things. The increase in the grant amount from 500 to 1,000, and to increase the budget from 4,000 to 10,000 to accommodate that. There was a discussion at the last meeting apparently, and there was a tie vote on whether to go ahead with that. So that kind of kicked it to this meeting to see if we can resolve some of that. Did you have anything to add?
No, I was just gonna go over
what
the
you got down
timeline.
there?
That's what you just did. So yeah, this is just coming back to you from your October meeting when it failed to move forward due to a tie. So it's in front of you again. There hasn't been any changes since it came to you in October. Same presentation.
And the staff recommendation is to raise it to 1,000 and then raise the budget to 10,000 to
Correct.
handle that. Is that right? All right, what do y'all want to do? Nancy? I just know you want to talk.
I
I
know.
can tell.
I so moved that we go ahead to moving it to 1,000 and 4,000 as of recommended.
10,000
10,000, excuse
from
me.
4 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so the two elements that they mentioned here. On
Yeah.
this.
I'll second.
Okay, and second by Bob. Any discussion on that? You want to talk about that anymore?
I do.
Go ahead.
I still am recommending that we hold off
Okay.
until we get some information about the bank property so that we know a better idea of what we're going to be looking at for expenditures for that project. Because without knowing that, and we start raising or sending money to other areas, we could lose funding to take care of certain items that we needed to get taken care of for the new bank property.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out that I'm going to recuse myself from the conversation and abstain from voting as due to a conflict of interest.
Well, I saw that, I used to be, or soon to be, used to be the mayor. And so I adjudicate a lot of these things, and there's a potential conflict of interest and there's an actual conflict of interest. And at least the way that the city views it, and our lawyer views it, is a potential conflict of interest is if you're part of a class of people who would be eligible for those grants. For instance, Marlene would be eligible for the grants, and Bob would be eligible for the grants. That's a potential conflict of interest if you belong to a class. An actual conflict of interest is if there's a discussion of giving money to your building specifically. And in that case, you would declare a actual conflict of interest. In a potential conflict of interest, you can participate in the discussion and you can vote. In an actual conflict of interest, you're expected not to participate in the discussion or vote and actually sit in the audience so that there's no apparent conflict of interest. So you look like a participant in a class of folks to me, but maybe you have something in particular.
Well, maybe you can help me make that distinction. The reason why I would say that is because I do use this program and I intend to use it in the future.
Okay, as
So
does
it might-
Marlene, I suppose, and Bob,
Yeah. So
possibly,
Potentially.
potentially.
Mhm.
So it sounds like you have a potential conflict of interest. And you're welcome to apply for the grant,
Okay.
like anybody else.
All right.
So then you can participate and can vote. Okay,
So what was the timeline again for when? So the funds for buying the Bank of America building has already been set aside from. I mean, whenever DEQ gets done and there's 30 days where you need to close after that. And funds are already there for that, right?
So the way that it's going to be financed, just as a reminder, is the money's actually going to come from the city,
Right.
from the city's SDC, one of the SDC funds, as a loan essentially to the agency. Payments on that loan will be deferred for 2 years. So there's no immediate encumbrance to the urban renewal budget for 2
Okay.
years. For the purchase price, that's just for the purchase price. So all other expenses related to the redevelopment of that site will be borne directly from the agency's budget. So the short answer to your question is yes, the money has been already set aside. There's already been a down payment made.
And last month you gave a pretty good synopsis of what it may be. I mean, it potentially could be X clear up to Y, because we really don't know about architect's fees, and demolition and all that.
Correct. Correct.
And when would that happen, do you think, if it closed, let's say, February, March, you're able to close?
Well, we won't know, if you're asking, when will we kind of getting back to Rich's
right,
point,
but-
when will we know actual costs? Not until we actually, bid out some of these items.
Right.
In my opinion, and in Brian's opinion, it's not prudent to it's very likely we'll acquire the site, but,
Right.
we don't want to expend a lot of resources because there's not that high degree of urgency to expend resources until we know we've secured the asset. So my guess is, it could take months after January before we know
The next
anything.
fiscal year possible.
Potentially, yeah. And the big unknown is going to be really the environmental remediation costs and how much money we're going to get from the state. And so some of this is out of our control. But like I said, I'm already working on
Mhm.
that now, at least getting that part done. So yeah, I think by next summer, I'd like to have a handle on costs.
You do have a budget for acquisition. I assume that
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah, there's
That's where a lot of this is coming
$75,000,
from.
which was the point of that was to encumber any of these other costs we're talking about for this fiscal year. So that could cover your architect, may cover demolition, and it's going to cover some of the site assessment costs we'll have to do. Yeah,
And this $10,000 that we voted for, it comes out of this fiscal year's money,
correct.
and they're available right away. So if somebody came in and wanted what would normally be $500 one at any time, as long as money's there,
Mhm.
so it'd be available now.
Correct.
So the way I see it, you have $70,000 in property acquisition in the budget.
Yeah, I thought there's 75, 70, 75.
There's 70 listed, so special projects is 10,000
You're right, it's 70.
70 and
Yeah.
operating contingencies is 60,000, which would give you some
Yeah.
wiggle room.
And
there.
actually, there's going to be some extra room in the building improvement grant line item as well, because
That was 40,000, something that was kind of floating around there for a while.
correct, yeah.
So we're looking at maybe $170,000 that you might be able to tap into
Yeah.
for the bank and raising the 4,000 to 10 for something like that
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah, if you look at the attachment B, it's been a while since I put this together now, but at the very bottom, these are some of the sources that we could pull funding from this fiscal year. So there's 45,000 and some change estimated sort of leftover funding in the building improvement grant program. There's 25,000 in professional services, 5,000 special projects, and again, I had this wrong. I had 75. It's really 70,000 in property acquisition. So that was my mistake. And then I put in a state funding amount. So if you take out that state funding and the extra 5,000 that I threw in there by mistake, you're at what, 145,000, I think, if my math is right, roughly. So that's how much we could have available this fiscal year for this project. And so if we were to move that $6,000 into what we're talking about right now, you just reduce that number by 6,000. So you have,
Or it would come out of contingencies, which is not,
well, it would, but if pulling money out of contingency, actually, it's possible to do that, but that would take an action of the agency board to approve
would it?
that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, this other thing we could do administratively and just move money
All right.
around inside the budget.
Okay.
Either-
But we could
we could do either
backfill
one.
later
We could.
with the contingencies by going to the agency.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I still don't agree with it, because we're setting a precedent too. For next fiscal year, and I just assume not do that, because we're gonna be short on cash because of all of the properties that are going off the tax roll. That were on the tax roll that are now public domain. The federal bank building, which is now a community church or community school. The Wells Fargo building, which is gonna go to the county, and even the Bank of America property is gonna go off. Until we get to somebody take over the property. So we're gonna be losing a lot of money in our district. From non-taxes, from taxes not being available to us. So we start spending money. I just want you to be aware of that. I pointed that out to you. If you
Mhm.
want to continue spending money that we may not have in the future. That's your choice.
Another point I think I can make along those same lines that I agree with Rich in principle. And we made there was an occurrence, I won't say it was bad or good, but we devoted nearly $1 million of our money to the senior center. which
Yeah.
took another property off the tax rolls for us. So it not only cost us $1 million, which were 927 to be exact. It cost us $62,000 a year in paying that off for the next
800.
20 years. It also took the property off the tax rolls. Yeah, but we have a nice senior center, I agree, but
Yeah, so to Rich's
that's the
point,
kind of thing that diverts our money.
to Rich's point, I did report back on that. I think at the September meeting, it's not captured here, but from the county tax assessor, and I think the total part that is included in the minutes is the total value decrease, which is total value, the district actually went down by 156. The part that didn't get reflected in the minutes was what that revenue impact was to the agency. And I believe it was like $3,000 or $5,000. And so I'm looking at that as, essentially it's a flat, it's gonna be a flat budget year, whatever revenues we receive this year, we'll probably receive essentially the same, potentially a little bit less next year, but definitely not more.
I'm gonna refer back to my little chart that I put together a couple of years ago about the taxes. I indicated potentially the tax income for 2001 was 240,000. I was pretty close. It's pretty close to that. And this year it's gonna be less than that. So we're looking maybe around 190,000, 180,000 for taxes coming in for 2021-22 year. So we could be seeing a shortfall here pretty soon.
Right, thank you. All right, any other discussion? Okay, we understand the motion. It's to raise the number from 500 to 1,000 and transfer $6,000 over to cover that into the budget for the minor improvement grants. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same.
I
Motion carries 5-1. Thank you, Rich. We appreciate your thoughts. We do. All right. On we go. Does that cover you, Charlie, pretty much? Okay, thank you. It's a chair report, and that's me. We conducted our survey and we got some responses back. And what I did was I amalgamated these responses into something usable, I think, that we can talk about. You probably have it there in front of you. There were a total of 10 questions, and I can very quickly summarize them. I think what this should do is inspire us to kind of look at this stuff from this angle after I'm gone as chair. Then you can pick it up and continue to work with it, because I think the questions are good and the answers are good, and the answers require some future consideration and work. And I just wanted to go over them all very quickly with you to kind of inspire thoughts. The first one is, do you have a grasp of the mission, et cetera? And the answers came back yes in every case, but they wanted to see one of the folks wanted to see a periodic review so that we're very clear about our mission. And there's a little bit of struggle with the role and whether we're helping the URD. Did that get passed out?
No.
Oh, it was supposed to be passed out. I'm sorry.
I've got
No, that's.
It was
I've
emailed
got
to us.
a abbreviated version.
well, then that must be this
It was sent out just.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's-
was
I got that
meeting
one.
last night.
Yes.
Never
one.
got
Yes,
it.
I do.
This,
Right.
this was new. I just made it this afternoon.
I know. And Benjamin sent out.
Here you go.
Oh, and if you emailed anything about it, I get so many requests for surveys. All
Is
the
that right?
time. I have my Outlook email inbox set to anything that has survey, the header goes straight to the junk folder.
Oh, okay. Well, Ben knows that now. So
Yeah.
you're welcome to check in on this anytime, because this is really kind of sets the pace for you all, I think, for the next year. But what you see is, let's say, your strengths and your weaknesses and what you'd like to do next year, basically. So that was the first question. Second question, do you have an adequate grasp of the budgeting process, and everybody said yes, but they want to be sure, generally speaking, that we see the draft budget coming out of the agency so we can make recommendations on it. That was the answer to that one. Then, do you think you have a consequential voice with the staff and the agency? And the three responses that I covered here, there's some more need for communications, and we have to do our work well to be taken as credible by which we do, but we probably need to communicate better. And then someone made a comment that if we have a light agenda, go ahead and cancel our meetings rather than just show up here. Not much to talk about. The next one was the balance between adopting staff work and you guys bringing new ideas to the group from citizen input and your own thoughts. And that got a positive answer, that there seems to be a good balance that you guys are taking seriously. And that's the way it should be. The next one was number 5. And what programs in the past do you feel that we've done really well with and had the most impact on our downtown? And the things that were listed were rural development initiatives, the RDI program, the Oregon Main Street program that the DDA functions under, Streetscape grant investments and acquisitions of the bank property. And this person felt that the smaller grants are less consequential to the development downtown. Then the next comment was about the courthouse square area. That's been our best program probably around the courthouse square, with historic preservation, streetscapes, trees, lighting, etc. The next one is 6, and that regards the bank project and your feelings about that. It was good to promote this as long as the intent remains that to keep it in the building in the downtown style, a multi-floor mixed use project, and get it back on the tax rolls. And then we want to be sure to be involved in it. And the last comment about it was that this is going to be a game changer, but also the comment that the architectural style needs to mirror its surroundings. And I think we all kind of think that. Number 7 is we're going to get better funded in a couple of years. And what do you personally think that ought to be our projects and programs? And we got the answers here. And one was to complete the streetscape projects on Washington Street. Not somebody put Miller Avenue, but that's not Miller Avenue, I think, an entry off Monmouth cutoff to Main Street. That might not be in our district, but we get the idea. And the next is to focus on the bank property and reopen the large grant program so we can get the matching dollars into downtown. And then the highest priority is the bank project, continue to work on the small scale projects, streetscape facades and all that. In other words, bank project is the big kahuna, but we got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Do streetscape, do building facades, some of that anyway, tree planting. Number 8 is if the funds become available for additional streetscape projects, which street would you pick to do individually? One person said none. Just work with, turn it over to Public Works and let them do the street work. And then use a grant program to help offset some of those costs. A second one was Washington Street from Levens to Jefferson. And the third one was the 100 block by the cleaners there. That'd be Tim's Garage, and that whole block, half block there on that side of the street seems to be the most needful block in the district. Number 9 was, do you favor having a formalized skill building goal setting session, a goal setting session once a year, retreat some sort, thought to be beneficial to revisit our public meetings laws, rules of procedure, and the plan itself. Meeting with the URD was suggested, the agency, on a different day other than the meetings. In other words, have a goal setting session with the people that we are reporting or recommending our work to. And which seems like a good idea to me, honestly. And it's very worthwhile to conduct this, but not in City Hall or in association with a regular meeting, was the comment. And in other words, make it unique with a facilitator and all that, not just another meeting, but have a different venue, different feel to it. And then we asked for any other thoughts folks had. And the first one was to focus on support of the URD. That's what we're here to do, support them by making them recommendations and making some of the smaller decisions. And next is to be sure that we have success with the bank project, which is the next project in our windshield. And then continue to have this positive attitude that we've set for the future. So we've done an awful lot of work. We've been doing this since 2004. And, this town looks a lot different than it did when we started, and much better. So those are the ideas that we're kicking around. Obviously, there's more to hear from you all, and those of you participated, and we appreciate that. And you still have the chance that we can get through your filter.
I can go look at my junk folder. And see
Okay.
what might be
Well,
in
we'll
there.
be happy to take any.
My problem is time this time of year.
Yeah, well,
Just isn't any.
this isn't going to go away. These
Right.
questions aren't going
Right.
to go away. So I suggest you have the questions like these in your head all the time.
Mhm.
What do we want to do next? You know, how much money do we want to put into the bank project? Do we want to educate ourselves and train ourselves every year and have a retreat and all that? I think these are good long-term questions, and there's probably more, but I can hand that off to you when I head over the horizon. I'll come back to your meetings, but I'll haunt you from the audience. But
I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Yeah.
yeah, I can't help myself. Then you're going to have to appoint a new chair in 2023. So one of you has to step up to the
Nancy
plate.
said she would do it.
She didn't say no yet. She's shaking her head. She's a reliable chair of anything. So,
See, that's the rumor I heard.
okay, well, I'll keep the seat warm until the 31st of December.
Okay, thanks.
Any member comments? Any, it says recognition here. I'm not sure what that means, but thank you for helping. We really appreciate Charlie and Tyler. Tyler's particularly responsible for all this stuff going out on Main Street.
Yes.
He's
He spent all his Saturday, you know, they didn't tell him about this when they hired him, but he's working all day Saturday with this and hanging those lights. It's a 2-hour project that took 8 to 2:30 or something like that. We didn't get them all quite hung, but they look good. We got the
Pretty
tree
amazing.
in that Linda McDonald donated the
Yeah.
tree, and that
That's spectacular tree.
company, what's their name? Mountain View.
Yeah.
Tree service.
The lights survived that windstorm we had.
Oh.
Pretty much. I thought they'd all be down on the ground the next morning.
Well, we got lucky, and it's a wonderful tree. I picked it out. John Casey and I picked it out up there. And they went and got it, which was no small thing. We were
Oh, right.
thinking about a 20-foot tree, and that darn thing is 50
50
feet.
feet.
I mean, it's a tree. And
It's spectacular. though.
spectacular. And they cut it, drug it in off the hill with big equipment, brought it here, set it up with a crane. It's like, 3 stories high or something, and decorated it. They decorated it, and the decorations like that cost $4,000 or $5,000 if you hire a company to do that. And they did all of it for free.
Love their town. It's a good thing.
Amen.
Good
to them.
connections. So,
And anyway, so that's the recognition.
Okay.
Thank you all for opening your shops and all that. Having entertained, we had another huge crowd.
Excuse me, Dave, Brian. So under the recognition moment, that was actually for you.
No,
Um,
no, no, we don't do that.
No.
We did want to take a
Any other
moment.
Business come before the,
let the record show, there's obstinance at the moment. No. We are gonna have refreshments and a cake afterwards, and the time to visit. And I think other commissioners might have had something they wanted to say as well in the moment. So
My birthday's coming up. Oh, no. Okay, well, all right.
So do we want, do we want these on the record? Can we do recognition now? How would you? On,
All right, well, let's just adjourn and, you can have your way with me. I wanted to point out one thing, and before I go away here, is in your grant application evaluation thing for this $500 grant there. It's got that the grant administrator will approve and award the projects, which I think is correct. But then later on, it says about the Urban Renewal Agency typically meets, so the application should be submitted prior to 2 weeks. They don't need to, these applications don't need to go to the agency, just for the facade. So it might be a little bit confusing. That's on page unnumbered, but page 2, grant application evaluation. And I honestly believe that this group is, we're really inspired and want to do a lot on our own. And I don't know how, there was a counselor who's no longer on the group, who wanted to aggrandize quite a bit of power at the agency level. And I think it would be wise for us to think about that, to see if we could do some of that down at this level, maybe up to certain levels of funding or something, to relieve them of having to do that kind of work and all the referrals and all that. And again, you're a recommending body, but at the same time, they can delegate approvals to you and that kind of thing, or delegate it to Charlie, for instance, a city person, that then he could take the recommendations from you all directly without going to the agency. It's just a thought.
Isn't that
what
what
happens
happens
now?
now?
No.
We talk about stuff, staff takes it to the agency?
Yes, that's
we
what
got cut
happens
out.
now.
We got cut out of that process.
But in the past, the city, not the agency board was the approval authority for the grants. And then that changed. A certain city councilor wanted to have that authority to review it at the agency level.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just worth looking at. That's always a topic you can address if you think you're up to it.
History.
And that counselor is no
No
longer
longer on
the council.
the council. All right, thank you. Is there anything else? Charlie.
Just a correction that about the next meeting.
Yes.
It should be January 4th, 2023. That's a Wednesday. The New Year's observed holiday is the 2nd, so everything gets shoved on one day. That week gets they are due and campus Monday.
Okay. So January 4th, same
Yeah,
place,
Wednesday, January 4th.
same time. Okay.
2023,
23. Right,
Oh, you mean we're not gonna go back in
not
time?
going back.
Ooh.
forward. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming tonight, and I guess there's free punch.
On your behalf. You bet. Get ready.
Thank you. This is one of my binders. I have 2 others like that.
No, you do.
You do too, Bob. We take this seriously.